Hello my friends, welcome back to my channel. We are going on a bit of a journey over the next few days of getting things ready for my next yoga retreat. I'm filming this on, what day am I on? Friday, and the retreat is on Sunday. So I've got a little bit of work to do to get things ready. You might recognize this setup because I filmed a video just a few minutes ago announcing that I am pregnant. You might have seen the video already. It's been out for a couple of weeks, or it will have been by the time you're watching this. If you missed it, you can go back and have a little look. But yeah, we're here to talk yoga retreats. I'll take you through very quickly the plan for the day, and then let's write this to-do list so we can start ticking some stuff off. I'm kind of using vlogging to keep me accountable, particularly with this new pregnancy tiredness. I need to spread out my tasks across several days to make sure things get done. Guests are arriving at 10:30 in the morning. We have teas and coffees on arrival, and then we are going into a slow flow yoga class. Then we have lunch, and I'm preparing the lunch for the day. I'm going to be making some soup. I always like to give about an hour of free time after lunch on retreat days, partly for food to go down and to be able to digest, but also to have that space to not feel rushed. And then for the afternoon, we're going into a restorative yoga practice, which is something I've been really enjoying recently. And then we finish with a yoga nidra, guided relaxation, finishing at about 4 p.m. Now, my mum knows me very, very well. She'll probably watch this. Hi, mum. She bought me for my birthday this little notebook, which couldn't be more true. So we're gonna make a list, and I don't know, you tell me, is this cheating, writing something on the list that I've already done so that I can cross it off? It might be cheating, but I'm still going to put it on the list. The first thing is to buy food for lunch, then I need to cook the soup, make some flapjacks, plan the slow flow class, plan the restorative class, collect my bolsters, and load up the car. So we're going to go back to yesterday, where I can tick off the first job on the list. That's the first job done, the food shop, and obviously I had to get something that I can eat immediately. This is not really a pregnancy thing. I used to do this anyway. If, like, as a reward for doing the big shop, you have to have like a little exciting something to nibble in the car for the journey home, don't you? Putting you down on the very dusty dashboard, please don't judge me. Festive snacks! How do I get in? I feel so greedy when I'm trying to get into a pack of biscuits and I'm not patient enough to do it the proper way. I know that there is a correct way to... Oh, here we go. I got it. That is so delicious. Now I'm going home. It's now Friday evening. I've got all my yoga gear out so that I can start planning the classes for the day. And this is really like the bread and butter of the retreat day. What we do in these classes is what's going to have the most long-lasting impact on the guests. So I really like to put a lot of thought and consideration into how I guide them through these yoga classes. The restorative class we're going to do in the afternoon, I already have a pretty clear idea of what I want to do with that. I recently filmed a restorative practice that I shared here on YouTube. I'll put a link to it. It's such a lovely class to do, where we use bolsters or pillows, cushions if you don't have a bolster, blankets, bricks, to support ourselves in some really relaxing stretches. So I'm going to be doing a variation of those postures for the retreat class. So that I have pretty mapped out in my mind already. But the slow flow class, I haven't really figured out what I want to do with that yet. So what I'm going to do is get on my mat and just spend a bit of time doing whatever makes me feel very grounded, calm, in terms of breath work, in terms of movement, and then that will kind of form what the class will end up being. So then it's kind of in my body and in my mind already when I come to teach it, and I don't need to have notes and things there that I'm looking through to try and remember what's coming next. It's more of a teaching from a felt sense of what I want to share. I don't know if that makes any sense at all. Maybe it doesn't. Makes sense to me. All right, I think I've got a pretty good idea of what I want to do. Particularly this time of year, December, a lot of people have got a lot going on. So my goal for this retreat day is to take some of that stress away, or as much of that stress away as possible, so that these lovely guests who are joining me can just settle, breathe, reconnect. So we'll begin laying down, we'll breathe, we'll settle, we'll have some quiet, still time there. We'll start small with our movements and we'll gradually start to pick up the energy. And then I think we're going to do a bit of tapping, which I've found really, really helpful. This kind of physically bringing awareness, bringing sensation to all different parts of the body, this sort of tapping and energizing. It might look or sound a bit odd, and I imagine one or two of them at the retreat might find it strange if they haven't done it before, but it is a really quick, really effective way of bringing your brain and your body into alignment. You're suddenly very present. It's great for circulation, it's good for getting the energy flowing. We'll go through this sequence that I've kind of got in mind, and then we'll go into, I think towards the end of the practice, alternate nostril breathing, which was what you saw me doing. If you haven't tried it before, you can go back and find one of my earlier videos about alternate nostril breathing and its many, many benefits. And that, I think, will then prepare us to go into our relaxation, where we'll lay down, we'll use bolsters and bricks and blankets for support. And I'll probably give on the day the option for people to have hands-on adjustments. So as they're laying down relaxing, I'll come and place my hands on their shoulders and just gently ground the shoulders. I also really like to offer this adjustment where I come up, hands to the back of the neck, and I'll gently just pull the head away from the body. And this stretch of the neck is so lovely. And then I'll let them just relax there into Shavasana. So I think that's the class planned. And then the restorative class, as I said, I'm going to be basing that on the class that I filmed and shared with you guys here on YouTube. So that one is also pretty much there. I'm just going to write a few more little notes to make sure that I'm happy with everything I'm doing. But I think we can tick it off. Good morning, it's Saturday. I've just finished teaching my 9 a.m. class here at the hall. It's looking very festive. The job for this morning, hopefully Sean is on his way, because I need to collect all the bolsters that I keep here at the hall and all of my yoga bricks and things, because I need them for the retreat tomorrow. So he is going to bring the car around and give me a hand, because the bolsters are pretty heavy and I am a bit slow on moving things at the moment. Okay, pretty much packed away now. Sean just rang and he is on his way. I'm actually going to go round the corner to M&S to get some nice bread rolls for tomorrow. Then Sean's going to grab the bolsters and I'm going to come round with the car so we can load it up. There you are. Welcome to my kitchen. Next job is making lunch. So we're having a big soup. I've made this soup before. It's a recipe that I'll share the link of below in case it looks of interest. It's sweet potato, carrot, a little bit of apple. It's just very warming. Oh, and red lentils as well. So very filling, warming, nutritious. I've got some mince pies, which I have bought from the shop, but I am going to be making myself some flapjacks as well. Oh, and then the last thing I'm going to make, so I'm making soup, flapjacks, and I make these like seedy clusters that are really nice for sprinkling on the top of the soup. I used to always hire other people to do the catering for events for me, and it always works really well, but there's a lot of logistics and extra expense. It means I have to put the ticket price up for the day. So cooking for everyone myself just feels like a much more from the heart kind of experience. It's come from my heart, my kitchen, unless this all goes to shit and I have to go to the supermarket and buy a few pots of soup. It won't, it'll all be fine. It'll all be fine. The chili powder just came out a bit too fast. I think it's going to be okay. There wasn't, not too much came out, more than I was expecting, but I've managed to just scrape out a little bit of it. It could be a little bit of a spicy soup, but I can always add, we can balance it out, it's going to be fine. I'll go in a bit more tentatively with my paprika this time. So I'm now going to cover it and let it simmer for about half an hour and just keep an eye while I move on to making seeds and flapjacks. A lot of different seeds, a mixture. I've got pumpkin seeds, sesame seeds, chia seeds, a tiny bit of oil, a little bit of maple syrup and a tiny bit of Marmite, so it gives it like a kind of sweet and savoury kind of taste all at the same time. And then you smush it all out into a baking tray and bake it for about 20 minutes until it's looking a little bit brown, a little bit crispy, and then you let them cool for ages, let them cool all the way down because that's when they kind of form their little clusters. And the last thing I'm going to do is flapjacks. There's loads of fruit and nuts and seeds goes into this flapjack recipe. They're delicious. You can kind of convince yourself they're healthy because they've got all of that goodness in, even though they also have quite a lot of golden syrup, butter and sugar. We've had a bit of a disaster. The seeds that were baking, I got carried away making the flapjacks and didn't really notice that the smell of them baking, which was smelling delicious for a while, suddenly turned to a very definite burning smell. And by the time I got them out of the oven, they had really burnt. So they went straight in the outside bin. I've opened the windows, I'm airing out the kitchen. And I don't reasonably have time to make them again. Well, no, actually, it's not the time. I think I need to give myself a bit of grace, and I've been on my feet for the last 2 hours doing this cooking, and I am pregnant and I need to take rest. I don't think anyone would mind at all if we just had some unbaked seeds that can be sprinkled on top of the soup. This is somewhere where in the past I would have been really hard on myself, forced myself to redo it, ended up being completely knackered and, really tired myself out from taking on more than I really needed to. So I'm going to practice today, giving myself a bit of grace. I'm going to tidy stuff away. The soup is about finished, so I'm going to blend that, clear away the kitchen and put my feet up for a bit. Oh, that's really good. It has definitely got a kick, but I think it just tastes quite like warming and spiced rather than super spicy. Okay, soup's done. Flapjacks are in the oven. I'm not gonna let them burn. It's time to rest. Good morning. It is Sunday, it's retreat day. We're finally there and the weather is horrible. It's been really stormy, really windy all night. It sounded quite scary, to be honest, outside. But all the fences are still up in our garden. I've just sent a text out to everyone, all the guests, reminding them exactly how to get there because the venue can be a bit tricky to find. I think I'm all ready to go. The last thing on the list was to load up the car. So I have my food all ready to go. I've got one bag that is for lunch, so that's going in the kitchen when I arrive. And then I have another bag of food that is for after lunch, kind of cakes and nibbles and things for our free time when we sort of sit around and have tea and coffee after lunch. I have loads of blankets, bricks, bolsters in the car already. So I think we are kind of ready to go. In the next 10 minutes or so, my friend who lives around the corner should be arriving, who is one of the guests on the retreat today. So he's going to come in the car with me and give me a hand with unloading everything at the other end, because I am feeling quite big at 21 weeks today. I know this is nothing compared to how big I'm sure I'm going to get. Some help with unloading all the bolsters and things at the other end will be very useful. I don't think I'll film much while we're actually doing the retreat day because obviously I want to be present and be there for the guests, but I'll take some little snippets where I can and I will catch up with you afterwards. The day is done. Oh my gosh, I'm so tired, but that was really special. It was such a wonderful group. There were 8 guests and each of them came individually. Often when I do retreat days, people will come with a friend or a family member, and that's a lovely way to experience a retreat, but it's, I think, often even more special, even more profound of a day when you come by yourself, because you don't have to worry about anybody else. You can really focus on your own practice, what you're doing, how you're feeling, how you're breathing. And I know that can be a bit nerve-wracking for some people, and a couple of them did say at the beginning of the day that they did feel a little bit nervous and weren't quite sure what to expect. But everyone was so welcoming to one another. I could see and I could feel that they really understood what they were there to do, and they really leaned into it very, very deeply, which was just such a joy for me to see and to be part of. Lunch went down a treat as well, which is great. There was a little bit of a kick to the soup, but nobody seemed to mind. It was just about right. I think nearly all of the flapjacks were eaten. I've got maybe 2 bits left over that I can enjoy tomorrow. I feel so grateful to be able to host these days, and that people want to come along, and that people are open to all that I'm sharing with them. Yeah, it's really special. It's one of my favourite parts of this job. And it feels really weird because this is the last retreat I'm going to do before maternity leave. In the new year, I'm leading one last yoga teacher training course starting in January, and that's going to take up most of my weekends through January to March. And then at some point at the end of March, I'm going to be taking maternity leave. So there is no time for any more retreats now before baby arrives. I do already have my first post-baby retreat booked in, which is in January 2026. Norfolk, a whole weekend. There are spaces available. It's open for bookings now. I'm going to leave the details below. And I'd really like to offer generous payment plans with this. You can split the cost of your ticket price over however many months there are remaining before the retreat. You can really spread out the payments and make it feel a bit more affordable. So all the details will be below, but that's going to be really special. January 2026. Feels like a long way away. There's a lot of life to happen between now and then, particularly for me, new life coming into the world. The only last thing that I will mention in case you've missed it is if you are interested in practicing more classes with me online, I have set up a Patreon. So this is a membership site. You pay a small amount every month to have longer, more in-depth practices with me. Starting from January 2025, the 1st of January, there will be an hour-long full class there for you to enjoy. There's going to be lots of extra practices, guided relaxations, behind the scenes stuff on there, and the 1st of every month there'll be an hour-long practice. I will still be posting free content here on YouTube, but if you're looking for more in-depth classes with me, then Patreon, the membership site, is going to be the place to go. And now it's time for me to rest. Thank you for coming along with me for the journey. It's always satisfying to tick off to-do lists to get it all done. I will see you in another video very soon. Good night.